let's talk about Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania 33. It's the best angle on TV, it's the hottest thing in the company, and it ends up being the second match on WrestleMania.
I was told by Vince himself, because we had started this program in the summer, and I remember we got to about October, and I said, we could take this to Mania. And it, in my opinion, was the best story of that Mania season. It took so many twists and turns, culminates in the Festival of Friendship, which everyone's like, oh, we knew he was going to turn. Nobody knew he was going to turn, because we had planted seeds, and when it finally happened, like I said, I wanted that Festival of Friendship to be a combination of an 80s David Lee Roth video, and starting as a 80s Roth video, and ending as the Red Wedding Game of Thrones, to where it's the most crazy thing you've ever seen. Like, there's no, you can't do that. Oh my God, don't do it. Oh, it's terrible. And that's what we did. So when the betrayal finally happened, we had it. And Vince told me, Vince wants to talk to you, that the idea is the main event of WrestleMania is going to be Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the world title, and Jericho wins the world title at WrestleMania. The first time ever I would win the world title as a babyface. I've been a world champion 7 times in my career. All of them have been as a heel, which tells me how much you guys like me. So that was what I was told, and I was like, this is really cool, but wrestling is wrestling, and things change. And the next week, there was a Goldberg segment and a Brock segment, and suddenly it's for the title, and there's this and the other thing, and I was like, well, I guess that idea went out the window, and I didn't even go bother asking Vince, because he doesn't owe me an explanation. Well, hey, why'd you change your mind, Vince? Well, because he does, and that's what he felt that as a marquee match, Goldberg and Lesnar for the world title was a bigger money-making main event than Jericho versus Owens. Now, was he right? Was he wrong? It doesn't matter what I think. It's not my ice cream shop. I just scoop the vanilla or scoop the chocolate, and he's the one who does what he wants. So that's kind of where that went. So, but the thing is, though, fine, we're not in the main event. No problem. If you look at a WrestleMania card, you guys don't know how long it is. There's 12 matches. The saying is, if you can't go last, go first. If you can't go first, go semi-main event. Other than that, it's kind of a quagmire, and then you really know how much emphasis the match it has from the boss by the amount of time you're given. So we were moved from the main event, world championship match, to the second match of the show and given 15 minutes. And as soon as I heard that and saw that, I'm like, I'm done. There's nothing more I can do here. Same way I felt in WCW when I did the Goldberg program. I was like, this is over. People like this, and there's nothing coming of this. I'm done in WCW. I'm done in WWE, because it doesn't matter what I come up with. It's not going to be, well, it's going to be as good, but it's going to be really hard to be better than this Kevin Owens Jericho story that we've told for the last 7 months. So I knew deep down inside, and I didn't even realize it until about a week or two after WrestleMania. It's like, I'm not into this anymore. I had lost my desire to be there. And when you lose your desire to be somewhere, the only solution is leave.
Between 2005 and 2006, you're on Raw, you're wrestling Cena and Shawn Michaels. Then you get drafted to SmackDown, you win the world title, and you lose it to Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania 22. And that leads to you going to ECW, which then leads to you leaving the company. That last 9 months must have been pretty crazy for you. I mean, did you have any inclination that that the run was coming to an end in those kind of 9 months leading up to it?
Well, I was struggling a lot at this particular time. I had a lot of problems with injuries. I had some problems with painkillers, and it was wearing on me. And I was wrestling full time. You know, we were doing 300 dates a year, and I was getting really burned out. And I remember, wrestling at WrestleMania, and Rey Mysterio, I understand why they did what they did. Eddie passed away, and Rey Mysterio was representing Eddie Guerrero. And I totally agreed with Rey Mysterio winning the title. I really did. But I was really struggling, and I knew I had to get out of the company. And when ECW came along, that was the last straw. I mean, nothing against that company and nothing against the name ECW. But when Vince McMahon put me on that show, I felt like it was a demotion. I felt like it was a slap in the face, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And little did I know that wasn't the problem. Vince didn't, I didn't have any heat with Vince. He wasn't trying to demote me, but I felt like it. And the thing is, the reason why I say that, and this is kind of funny, if you guys, I know it's not a funny moment right now, but you're going to laugh, I promise you. Vince says, hey, I want to start a new promotion. I said, what's the name of it? He said, ECW. I said, that's not a new promotion, Vince. Then he says, but listen, you're going to make less money and you're going to work in smaller arenas. I said, why the would I want to do that? He said, don't worry, I'll take care of you on the back end. And thank God he did. But when you hear that kind of stuff, you're like, why the hell is he even starting this promotion? He's going backward. He's not going forward. But Vince loved ECW. He wanted to do something special with it, and he tried. It lasted a few years. It didn't last as long as Vince wanted it to, but he had a good little run with that company. But to work in smaller arenas and make less money, that's that kind of sucks.
Dude, he just came off wrestling Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. I'm sure he had visions of well, now I'll go to the heavyweight championship, right? And here he is being gaslit by Ezekiel, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not my brother. And I'm obviously Elias, right? And so, dude, we had so much fun. And I always thought, my specialty is being the straight man while the other guy is livid, right? And that's what Kevin was doing. He was so over the top, was beside himself that nobody would believe him and everybody would believe me. And it just made for some really great TV. In fact, and they would tell me, the ratings are really good. Hey, the social media loves this stuff. And so I think initially they wanted it to be 2-3 weeks with Kevin, and I have no idea if there was a long-term plan. Probably not. And then we would just go off to do our own thing. And I can remember, that was a huge change for me. That was a totally different character, totally different look, and taking a big chance with your career there. And I can remember at the first pay-per-view, they wanted me to lose to Kevin. And I'm thinking, hey, you guys, I switched everything. The crowd is very interested right now. They want to see, what is this guy like? What is Ezekiel like, right? And if I came out and beat Kevin Owens, that's a big deal. You beat Kevin Owens in your first match and stuff like that, and whatever. Ultimately, they decided that Kevin would win, and I thought, oh, crap, they don't really have a plan for this, do they? But the social media loved it. This one girl made a picture of Zeke and Elias together. It's very badly photoshopped, right? But it went viral. And WWE posted it, and my Instagram got hundreds of thousands of likes and whatever. And they ran with it on TV. They made a shirt out of it. And then Vince started having fun with it. It's oh, you're going to do a segment where you and Elias meet. So now they've got me doing makeup to look like how I used to look before they changed me. And so now I'm doing segments where I'm dressing up like how I look right now, and I'm acting. It was such a scene. And we did the whole thing where I sat side by side with my brother. I don't know if you remember this. And it was great to catch up. It was very, Elias was proud of his brother Zeke for making it into WWE. Zeke was so infatuated with Elias for how cool he is, traveling the world and playing music. It was, brotherly love. And, Elias returned to do a concert. And so we were nervous about this because I was going to get physical with Kevin. And we know, that beard could come off. Yeah, because they glue a beard to my face. And if that comes off while you're trying to be Elias, it's the whole act is up, right? And so we had some fun there. And essentially what happened was we're running with Elias and Zeke, and Zeke's doing some stuff, and Hunter came in. Now Hunter took over, and the very day he took over, he was like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm bringing Elias back." I'm like, okay, here we go, right? It's going to take some time to grow my beard back out, but if that's what you want, boss, that's what you get. And so they wrote Zeke off. He got slammed by Kevin. He got carted off in the hospital. That's the end of the legend of Ezekiel. And a few weeks, or probably, I guess, maybe 2 months later or something, my beard was back just enough that I looked like Elias, and they put me back on TV. So,
I mean, yeah, you were there for this really interesting time where, the Vince scandal happens, he's out, Hunter comes in. I mean, do you think, had that not happened and Vince was still in, the trajectory of you and WWE would be any different?
well, yeah. Now, considering all things, yes. Because Vince, however he used me, he always had some vision for me, right? Like even this Ezekiel stuff, as ridiculous as it is, he played with it and he put it on TV and he gave it some stuff and of course the years of Elias prior to that. And so then what happened when Hunter brought back Elias, which I was very excited about. And I thought, oh man, Elias under Hunter's vision could really be good. Hey, now I could finally be that main eventer that I've always felt like I could be. And I came back. They had paired me with Riddle right when I came back, and from what I understood, they had plans for like tag team championship and then a feud, and then Elias was going to be a heel again. And there was quite some planning. But what had happened was, I can't remember if, Matt Riddle got in trouble, some stuff went down backstage, plans changed. All of a sudden, I'm on my own. I'm a baby face. So now the guy I was supposed to turn on, my catalyst is kind of gone. Now I'm kind of just like baby face fodder for like, I think, Solo and Omos and some other guys and stuff like that. And they just never really got Elias back to doing what he was best at doing, I should say. Because, as a heel, I think you basically have endless material. No matter where you go, no matter what the city is. As a babyface in that same act, it's going to run its course pretty quick, I think, unless we have a good storyline, which they didn't seem to have set up. So then what had happened was they transitioned me to, doing like backstage segments, occasional Elias appearance. No more. Now I wasn't doing the guitar anymore. So I already knew that was not great. And then they just had me losing 5-minute match to Omos or something like that. I know that's not great. And all the while I'm giving them idea after idea after idea, annoyingly a lot. Then they put me with Rick Boogs. And me and him got really excited about this. This was their idea, not my idea. And they put us together. And, we're doing some backstage stuff. And we thought, oh, man, we're the two guitar guys. We're the two music guys. He's very over the top, very energetic. And I'm very, cool, calm guy. And I just thought it could be such a great dynamic if they put us in front of the live crowd. And they never did. And eventually the draft happened. I became a free agent, which essentially took me off TV. They never did anything with me and Boogs. I think shortly after he went to SmackDown, they took him off TV. And that was it, dude. Then I was taken off TV, and I was pushing so hard. I was doing anything I could to speak to somebody, talk to somebody, give ideas. I would call the writers, I would call people higher up and stuff like that too. Hey, I'll come meet you. Hey, I'll fly to wherever, Connecticut. Let's make something happen here. Here's a new character. Here's a new twist. Here's a new way to present Elias. A million different things. And I can remember, hearing that the merger was coming up, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's not going to be good news once that merger occurs, and it wasn't. So that was kind of the end right there for WS.
I mean, so that happens. You get released. How do you what do you see the future as for you in pro wrestling now?
Dude, so I got let go, and I was just like upset because I was like, I tried so hard for so long. Like the general audience isn't going to be able to know that like Elias is back there like crafting pitches, sending them to, everybody, every person that could possibly make a decision. Trying anything, and I'm totally, if Zeke is not enough proof, I'm willing to play like any role and I'll make the best of it, okay? And I thought that would show something, you know what I mean? Like where they could at least plug you in somewhere or whatever it is. But the point is, I was just like, okay, you push and you push and you push and you push, and then they go, no. And I was just like, let me just chill. I'm just not going to wrestle or whatever it is, you know what I mean? I'm just going to just take a couple months or whatever, figure out what I want to do. And then, after the initial hit, you start to I almost start to get creative again. And it's like I relax and I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I could have fun, I could do some stuff, whatever. And a buddy of mine, Sammy Callahan, the wrestler, you know who that is? He was like, hey, I think you should come have an awesome match out in his promotion. And I said, oh, would you have in mind, dude? He's like, oh, we'll find you somebody. It'll be cool. He's like, just, dude, you'll feel good after you do it. And, dude, he was right. They hooked me up with this guy, Speedball Mike Bailey. We had a match, my first one after however many months. And, dude, it was such a blast. So much fun. The crowd was great. He was great. It was cool to, meet people, one-on-one. I was like, oh, this is, that's actually fun. It's not some, pressure-filled, and nobody wants to listen to you kind of thing. Everybody wants to kind of have a good time, have a good match, put on a good show. Oh, this is fun. And so then that happened. And then somebody else called, and they're like, hey. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now, man. I'm like, I'm not in any sort of pressure to be back on TV. If maybe down the line, if there's opportunities or something like that comes up, maybe I'd listen to whatever, or maybe my mind will change and I'll really want to pursue one of the major companies. But in the meantime, this has just been fun. It's been fun to enjoy calling your shots, having fun with the crowd, having fun matches, traveling the world. So that's, as far as wrestling goes, that's all that's on my horizon right now. Just enjoying myself and just the fun of wrestling again. You know what I mean?
And then what led to you leaving in 2007, if people don't know?
Non-compliance. In Manchester, I took a one too many pills and passed out in my underwear in the lobby. So I got a 9-week vacation at the rehab facility. And when I came back, the WWE doctor was like, my knee sore. I had the knee surgery. I started taking a lot of the pain pills and the somas to try to cope with the pain because patella tendon repair takes about, healing takes about 9 months when I was told. I got cleared at 6 months. And I was nowhere near ready. And I was trying to mask it with the medication, and it caught up to me. I had to go to rehab. And then when I came back, the WWE doctor was like, well, if you're still hurting, you should probably take the pain meds, but don't take the somas. And I feel like somas are probably a large contributor to a lot of the deaths in pro wrestling because it lowers your heart rate when you sleep, pass out, and quit breathing. So I quit taking those, and I started taking the prescription painkillers again. And I had a doctor write me, all right, so I had liposuction done. And a doctor wrote me Percocet, one type of painkiller. Other doctor normally wrote me hydrocodone. I found those Percocets that had been written maybe about 6 months before, and I took one of those, and then I drug test. So I tried to go to the doctor to get proof that he wrote it, he committed suicide. And since they already sent me to rehab and now I failed a test, I got released.
And I mean, that's a tough, journey to go through. But you came out of it. You got better. I mean, how tough was that for you to sort of overcome it?
It's more of like a shame thing, because I knew that I could still do whatever I want to do. I mean, but it's more like a shame thing because they plaster it all over the internet and then it's, everybody sees it. But I think the stigma of that is starting to become less and less, and realize that the people with drug addictions have a medical problem, a medical issue, and maybe jail and prison is the right thing. But luckily, I got the treatment and got myself straightened out.
And then in 2009, WWE bring you back, but it's the briefest of returns. Talk about that experience, because it seems odd to bring Eugene back and then not really use him.
We're not selling old, fat Eugene, is what I was told. I was out of shape. Now, I didn't think Eugene necessarily had to be a body guy, and granted, I was probably more out of shape than I should have been in, but I saw him like in May, and I got signed, and I went to Pittsburgh to do all the pre-hire tests and all that stuff. And I had a 2-week run before I went back to WWE, so I thought, I'm just going to have fun. Had, in America, it's called Taco John's. Potato olays every night and beer. And I probably gained, 10-ish pounds plus, and it looked bad. And I was probably pale. So once they saw me the first week, they yelled at me, sent me home. And then the next one was in Calgary TV, and I got called late on a Friday to go to Calgary, and I knew something was up because to go to Calgary they have to put all the information in to go across the border and whatnot. So I knew probably wasn't good. And then when they said it's a contract on a pole match, I knew for sure that no, fuck, this isn't gonna be good at all. And an instance there, like I thought, if I get the contract on the pole live on Raw, it's gonna be a lot harder to release me right away. But of course I didn't, and then I got released.
So on one hand, you know that you're the most despised guy in the wrestling business. So, and honestly, there's a part of me, and again, the guy that goes home, that nobody ever gets to see. Go back home to San Antonio, and you look in the mirror and you just go, dang. I mean, because I will tell you this much: when I was 12 years old, and whatever, you look at the stuff with the Rockers and the Intercontinental, all the stuff in my wrestling career. You don't see yourself. You don't come home again to Texas where you're Shawn Hickenbottom, and you don't look yourself in the mirror and go like, all right, great. I've become the most hated guy in the wrestling business. You know what I mean? And you don't sit there and go like, that isn't. You know what I mean? So it is. So there's that part of you. Okay. Again, there is. I mean, believe it or not, there is a real life part of you that goes, this is absolutely this sucks so bad. Every part of this sucks. You know what I mean? And then you go to work and look, man, I put on the mask and I frickin', I would, you can't do something like that, in my opinion, and I will confess probably wrong and everything else. But at that time, did not feel I could do that job with any amount of anything and have 1 ounce of break or guilt or shame or whatever. It had to be a freaking rock. And so I went back and I did it and I loved it and I shoved it in everybody's face and I freaking walked the walk and I talked the talk and then I went out there and told you I was going to rip the freaking house down. And I'd go out there and I'd rip the house down and I'd say, see, and then I'd walk out and that would be that. And then I'd go home and I'd go, well, and again, and I appreciate that. And years later, it's nifty and it's cool. But again, but then you would. I mean, I'd go home, you know what I mean, and sit there, at that time, single by myself, in my place, and go like, this sucks. Because it's not how you pictured it being. You know what I mean? This feeling now. This is, and it eventually, got like this. Clearly, right now, but at that time you didn't know that, and all I knew at that time was, God, this sucks. You know what I mean? Again, on one hand, I guess you got what you always wanted, Shawn. You're on top of the wrestling world, but it freaking sucks.
And it's interesting because there's an article online somewhere where there was a WWF live event. I think it was December of '97 in Arkansas or something, and people were throwing batteries at you, and like, it's not. People think it's funny.
They were starting to burn the building.
Yeah, and you guys at one point had to like not go out for the main event because it was that bad. And I mean, I guess, but also what's interesting about it is, I guess Vince McMahon had to kind of make a call of, I can't deal with Shawn and Brett together anymore because they just don't get on and whatever. And, you're the choice, you're the guy he goes with. It's all going forward. And then a couple of months later, you get this back injury and you think that you're done, potentially. That's got to be like the biggest roller coaster ever, that you figure it out. I'm going to be the most hated guy and just walk the walk. And then you have this casket match, the back injury happens, and it might be done.
Yeah. No, and once again, you're like, this sucks. Yeah. No, it is. It's like I said, it's convenient now, getting to look at it all in the rearview mirror, going through it again. It's, it was, look, it's why I do get sentimental. It's why I don't take a lot of stuff that seriously anymore. It's, it's why I've turned into the type of human being that I am. It's why I don't do podcasts and say bad things about other people or whatever. Because I don't have any. I've had enough drama in my life, and the thing is, look, you have to understand. I look at what I've been through, what I have survived. A bunch of the dudes I used to run around with are dead, and so I got a second chance. All I need is one. You know what I mean? And so I just decided, you give me 1 second chance. I won't lick a gift horse in the mouth. And so, but again, it was, none of it was easy. None of it was fun. And like I said, it's much better, to be standing on this side of it now. Believe me.
What made you decide to step down from being the head of talent relations, and what did you think of John Laurinaitis as your replacement?
I didn't decide to step down. Vince wanted me to. I was getting too strong for my position, in my opinion. Next time I'm covering my ass. I felt like I did a great job. Look at those guys that we signed. The interesting part about it is you got some of those cats that I signed and put them in a room. They're going to take most of the credit for their success. That's the wrestling business. The bottom line of it is that I facilitated for these guys an opportunity to become stars and to stand out and to make money where there had not been any money for them at that point. So I wouldn't take that back for anything. It's a cool deal to me. So, but like I said earlier, if legacies mean anything, my legacy should be where I helped a lot of guys realize their dreams. And I'm proud of that. I'm really proud of that. A lot of those guys are living the good life.
Like July, where I started to realize, like, I was not excited to come back, like, at all. I was thinking, like, and I talked about this in other shows, like, that's where I realized I was, like, getting excited about wrestling again once I got healthy. But I was like, oh, man, do I really got to go back to WWE, though? Couldn't I go to, like, CZW or something? I remember I was training with Joey Mercury, who was at Ring of Honor at the time. And he was telling me, like, yeah, we just sold out Madison Square Garden with New Japan and Ring of Honor, man. We got all this stuff going on. He was telling me about it. And I was like, damn, man, can you take me with you? Because I got to go back to WWE. Damn it. And I was like, picturing, like, all these terrible ideas they were having for me. And it was just making me, like, incredibly anxious. I was like, oh, God, and but I was like, all right, I still got that heel turn on the horizon. That's my I'm going to give him one last shot. I got this heel turn's coming. That gets put off and put off and put off. Eventually do it. that goes to real quick. But it was, I knew I was gone in the summer while I was off. But I was like, I knew I wasn't going to leave early. I wasn't going to deal with getting in legal. I knew I was going to write out the contract. But I was like, all right, I'm going to give this, if this heel turn goes good and, you know, it could be, we'll see. But I was being optimistic. The whole time, though, that I was going like, the whole time from the time I came back to about the beginning of the year, I knew I was leaving, but I was like pissed about it. I wasn't like excited to leave yet. I was like bitter about it because I'm like, I can't believe they're going to make me leave. They're going to make me walk away from all this money. I can't believe that. Can we not just write one good storyline? Can we not write one good promo? Does everything have to be stupid? Does everything have to make me look like an idiot? Like, for you're going to make me walk away from all this money? Because it's not like I didn't want that money, you know? I was like, yeah, I want it, but I'm not doing that again. I'm like, so I was like pissed. I'm like, I can't believe they're so fucking incompetent that they're going to make me walk away from all this money. Jesus Christ, like, I know I got to go back to the Indies. It, let's go. After about January 1st, because I remember me and Renee went on a hike. The Turtle Head Peak was in Red Rock Canyon. The night before, you know, was all bitching about the same shit I'm bitching about all the time. And I was like, all right, tomorrow we're going to hike. Starting this year off good. Because January 1st of 2018, I woke up with the alien head in my arm. That's what that picture on the countdown show was. So I was like, okay, 2018 sucked. 2019 is going to be good. We're starting off with a hike, fresh air. It's going to be good. And, you know, you clear your head, you start talking or whatever. And it was like, I already known I was going to leave, but it's like, that was the day I was like, I started to think about what it would actually look like. I'm like, okay, I'll go to Japan. I don't know where in Japan, but one of them, a bunch of companies in Japan, I'll go over there. I'll go back to the Indies. And I'll just like make my own schedule. Oh, that'd be sweet because I'll be able to make my own schedule. Dude, and I was like, man, we could have free time. We could schedule a vacation for once, actually. This is going to be great. And I started to get excited about it. I'm like, that's when I was like, oh, I'm leaving. It's going to be awesome. And then at that point, I got excited about it. And then, and that was before the AEW thing even happened.